She's too senile to own a house, my daughter told the judge. She said it softly, like she was trying to be kind. That was Claire's talent. She could put a knife between your ribs and make the room believe she was only helping you breathe. I sat at the small wooden table on the left side of the courtroom with my hands folded over my purse. My cardigan was buttoned wrong at the top because Claire had insisted on helping me dress that morning, then smiled at me in the hallway as if she had done me a favor. My shoes were the plain black ones with the soft soles. My hair was pinned low. To anyone looking quickly, I was exactly what my daughter needed me to look like. Old, tired, manageable. On the table in front of the judge, Claire had arranged my life into 3 neat piles. The first was a glossy nursing home brochure with smiling nurses and fake flowers printed along the border. The second was the deed to my house. The third was a yellow service record folder she had taken from the locked military trunk in my bedroom. That was the one I kept looking at. Not because I was confused, because the red tape was on the wrong side. Claire stood beside her attorney in a cream-colored coat I had paid for 2 Christmases ago. Her fiancé, Brandon, sat behind her with his legs crossed and his phone face down on his knee. He had worn a dark suit for the hearing, the same suit he had worn at their engagement dinner 3 nights earlier when he told me, with a smile full of teeth, that some decisions had to be taken away from elderly people before they hurt themselves. Now Claire looked at Judge Whitaker and lowered her voice. Your Honor, I love my mother. I wouldn't be here if this wasn't necessary. Necessary. That was another word people used when they wanted to do something cruel without sounding cruel. Judge Whitaker was an older man with silver hair, square glasses, and the kind of patient face that made people believe he was listening even when they were lying to him. He looked down at the papers Claire had submitted, then looked at me. Mrs. Hart, he said, do you understand why you're here today? I looked at him. Then I looked at the yellow folder. Claire gave a tiny sigh, just loud enough for the court reporter to hear. This is what I mean, she whispered. Sometimes she just shuts down. I turned my eyes back to the judge. Yes, Your Honor, I said. My daughter is asking the court to declare me incompetent so she can take control of my house. Claire's face tightened, but only for a second. That's not fair, she said quickly. I'm asking for guardianship because she can't manage her affairs anymore. She forgets appointments. She refuses medical help. She keeps dangerous old objects locked in her bedroom. She talks about military records like they're more important than her own safety. Her attorney slid the nursing home brochure closer to the judge. She has already been evaluated for placement, he said. The facility is prepared to accept her as soon as the court authorizes transition. Transition, another clean word. They did not say remove. They did not say sell the house. They did not say put the old woman somewhere quiet so her daughter could finally get what she wanted. They said transition. Judge Whitaker picked up the brochure first. He turned one page, then another. The courtroom was quiet, except for the paper moving beneath his fingers and the soft clicking of the court reporter's keys. I watched Claire's hand. Her left thumb rubbed the inside of her engagement ring again and again. She did that when she was waiting for someone else to make her lie official. Then the judge set the brochure down and reached for the deed. Claire's shoulders loosened. Brandon leaned back. Her attorney uncapped his pen, and I looked once more at the yellow folder. The tab should have been facing inward. The red tape should have been sealed across the bottom edge. The discharge papers should have been on top. Instead, The red-tabbed section sat crookedly beneath the first flap, as if someone had opened the folder in a hurry, panicked when they saw more than they understood, and shoved everything back in the wrong order. My daughter thought she had brought proof that I was losing my mind. She had no idea she had carried chain of custody evidence into a courtroom. Before I tell you what was inside that service folder, tell me where you're watching from. I always like knowing how far a quiet woman's story can travel, because that morning, in that courtroom, everyone thought the question whether I could remember who I was. But I remembered everything. I remembered the exact date my husband and I paid off that house. I remembered the notary who signed the trust. I remembered the serial number etched into the brass lock on my military trunk. And I remembered, down to the minute, the last time a careless hand broke a seal and thought there would be no consequences. The first time my daughter lied about my memory, I believed her for almost an hour. That is the part people do not understand. When you are 74 and your own child looks at you with pity in her eyes, you do not get angry first, you get scared. Claire had called me on a Tuesday morning in March. "Mom, where are you?" she asked. I was standing in my kitchen, pouring coffee into the blue mug Tom had bought me the year before his heart gave out. "At home," I said. There was a pause, a very careful pause. "Mom," she said gently, "your appointment was at 9. I looked at the clock over the stove. It was 8:12. My appointment is at 10:30. No, Mom, it was changed. I told you last week. I set the coffee pot down. I had a calendar on the wall beside the refrigerator, not a phone calendar. Not one of those little glowing things people tap with their thumbs and then blame when they forget their own children's birthdays. A paper calendar. White squares. Black ink. My handwriting. Tuesday. March 12, Dr. Ellison, 10:30. I stared at it while Claire sighed into the phone. "This is what worries me," she said. "You write things down, but then you don't update them." I can't keep doing this from across town. Across town was 12 minutes away. "I'll call the office," I said. "No, don't bother them. I already apologized." That was the first hook she set. She did not accuse me loudly. She did not say, "You're losing your mind." She said, "I already apologized," which meant I had embarrassed her. It meant she had become the responsible one. It meant the problem was not her lie. The problem was my doubt. After we hung up, I stood in front of that calendar for a long time. Then I called Dr. Ellison's office. The receptionist, a young woman named Maya, sounded surprised. "Mrs. Hart, your appointment is still at 10:30. I looked at the clock again. 8:19. "Was it ever changed?" I asked. "No, Mom, not according to our system." I thanked her and hung up. I did not call Claire back. That is another thing people do not understand about silence. Sometimes silence is not surrender. Sometimes silence is inventory. I took the calendar off the wall, slid it into a drawer, and placed a fresh one in its place. From that day on, I kept 2 copies of everything, one where Claire could see it and one where she could not. The second lie came with a house key. Claire arrived that Saturday carrying a paper bag full of groceries I had not asked for. Banzas, soup cans, low-sodium crackers, and one of those rotisserie chickens that always smell better in the store than they taste at home. She set the bag on the counter and kissed my cheek. "You're getting too thin," she said. "I'm the same weight I was at Christmas. That's what worries me. You think that." I looked at her. She smiled and began putting cans into the wrong cabinet. My house was not large, but it was mine in a way no bank could argue with. Tom and I had bought it when Claire was 7. The roof leaked the first winter. The porch sagged. The furnace made a banging sound every time it started, like an old man kicking the wall from the basement. Tom fixed what he could. I worked double shifts when I had to. We paid that mortgage the way some people pray, month by month, even when we were tired, even when no one clapped for it. On the day we made the last payment, Tom brought home a tiny grocery store cake with blue icing. He wrote PID in white letters across the top because there was not enough room for anything else. I still had the receipt from that cake. Claire never asked about that. She opened the drawer beside the sink and took out the spare key. I watched her put it into her coat pocket. "What are you doing?" She turned with that soft face again. "Mom, I need a copy. Just in case. You already have my phone number. What if you fall? I have not fallen. What if you do?" There it was. Not what happened. What if? A whole future built out of fear. I held out my hand. She gave a small laugh as if I had made a joke in front of company. "Mom, don't be difficult." That word stayed in the kitchen after she left. Difficult. Not independent. Not careful. Difficult. 3 days later, I came home from the pharmacy and found 2 strangers standing in my living room. One was a woman in a navy blazer holding a tape measure. The other was a man with polished shoes who was staring at the crown molding like it had already agreed to belong to someone else. Claire stood between them, smiling too brightly. "Mom," she said, "you're home early. It was my house." I had not come home early. Everyone else had come in without permission. The woman in the blazer turned to me with a professional smile. "Mrs. Hart, your daughter said you were considering listing the property." I looked at Claire. Her smile hardened at the corners. "Just exploring options," she said. "No pressure." The man with the polished shoes walked toward the dining room. "Great bones," he said. "Older buyers won't want the stairs, but young families will love the neighborhood." Older buyers, young families. I stood in the doorway with a white pharmacy bag in my hand and watched my daughter sell a future in which I had already disappeared. After they left, Claire stayed behind. "You embarrassed me," she said. I placed the pharmacy bag on the counter. "You brought strangers into my house. I'm trying to help you plan." "You're trying to sell my home." Her eyes flashed, only for a moment. Then the soft face returned. "Mom, this house is too much for you. The stairs, the yard, the bills. You don't understand what it takes anymore." I almost laughed at that. I understood bills before Claire understood shoes. I understood leaky pipes, tax envelopes, insurance premiums, interest rates, late fees, furnace filters, and the particular sound a roof makes when rain finds a weakness. But I said nothing. Claire walked to the kitchen table and took a folded brochure from her purse. She placed it beside my salt shaker. "Silver Pines Assisted Living." "Just look at it," she said. On the front, an elderly woman sat beside a window with a blanket over her knees, smiling at a nurse who looked too clean to be real. I did not touch it until Claire left. Then I opened it carefully. Inside, on the back page, Claire had circled a room type in blue ink. Shared suite. Not private. Shared. My daughter had already chosen the room where she planned to store me. I folded the brochure along its original crease and placed it in the second drawer beneath the phone book, beside my real calendar, the realtor's card, and the note where I wrote the time the strangers entered my house. The third lie happened at Claire's engagement dinner. She did not invite me because she wanted me there. She invited me because she wanted witnesses. The restaurant was one of those places with low lights, small portions, and waiters who described potatoes as if they had survived a war. Claire sat in the center of the table with Brandon beside her, his arm resting on the back of her chair, like he had purchased the right to display her. Brandon was not a cruel man in the loud way. He was worse than that. He was polite to people he considered useful and amused by people he considered finished. Claire had placed me at the far end of the table near the service station. Every few minutes, a waiter brushed behind my chair carrying plates. The cold draft from the hallway touched the back of my neck. At first, everyone behaved. They asked about the wedding. They admired the ring. They laughed at Brandon's story about a client who had forgotten his own anniversary. Then Claire lifted her glass. "I just want to say," she began, "how grateful I am that the people I love are finally letting me step into the next chapter of my life." Everyone smiled. I knew that sentence had a door hidden in it. She turned toward me. "And Mom, I know change is hard for you, but I hope you understand that sometimes letting go of the past is the healthiest thing we can do." Brandon made a sympathetic sound. One of his friends looked at me with the kind of pity people save for dogs with cloudy eyes. I set my fork down. "What past am I letting go of?" I asked. Claire's smile stayed in place. "The house, Mom, the stress, all those old boxes, that military trunk you won't let anyone touch." The table became very still. Brandon leaned forward. "With respect, Evelyn," he said, "at a certain age, the kindest thing is to take decisions away before someone gets hurt." There it was. Not help, not support, take. I looked at my daughter. She did not look ashamed. She looked relieved, as if Brandon had said the ugly part for her. "My mother gets attached to objects," Claire told the table. "Old uniforms, papers, that locked trunk. Sometimes she talks about them like they're more important than people." I looked down at my hands. The left one had a small scar across the knuckle from a field hospital door in 1971. The right one still cramped in cold weather from the night I held pressure on a boy's artery for 26 minutes while mortar fire shook dust from the ceiling. Those hands had packed Claire's school lunches, signed her permission slips, held her fevered forehead. Written checks for braces, college books, rent deposits, and one emergency divorce lawyer she later pretended she had paid for herself. Now she sat under warm restaurant lights telling strangers that my memories were clutter. Brandon smiled at me. "You've had a full life," he said. "No one is taking that from you." I looked at him until his smile faded. Then I said, "That is exactly what people say when they are taking something." No one laughed after that. Claire drove me home in silence. When we pulled into my driveway, she did not turn off the engine. "You made things uncomfortable tonight," she said. I opened the car door. Before I stepped out, she added, "If you keep acting like this, Mom, you're going to force me to do things the hard way." I looked back at her. For the first time that month, she forgot to sound kind. The porch light shone across her face, and I saw my daughter clearly. Not the little girl who used to fall asleep with one hand curled around my sleeve. Not the young woman who cried into my shoulder when her first marriage cracked open. This was someone else. Someone measuring my house from the inside. Someone counting my silence as weakness. Someone who had decided that because I loved her, I would let her rob me gently. I stepped out of the car and closed the door. Claire rolled down the window. "You need to think about what's best," she said. "I am," I told her. She drove away before I reached the porch. Inside the house, I did not turn on the television. I did not make tea. I did not cry. I went straight to my bedroom. The military trunk sat at the foot of my bed beneath a folded quilt, dark green, brass corners. One dent along the left side from a transport truck that had rolled into a ditch outside Da Nang before sunrise. I knelt slowly because my knees are not what they used to be, and I ran my fingers over the lock. Still closed, still mine. For the moment, I thought of Tom then. Not the hospital bed version of him. Not the thin wrists and tired eyes from the last winter. I thought of him standing in the kitchen with that ridiculous blue cake, grinning like we had conquered the world because the bank no longer owned a single nail in our walls. "Protect the house, Evie," he had told me once, months before he died. "Not because it's wood and brick, because it's proof. We built one thing they couldn't take from us." I rested my hand on the lid of the trunk. "I know," I whispered, but even then, I still hoped Claire would stop. That was my last mistake. Because 3 mornings later, I came home from the grocery store and found the quilt folded on the floor. The trunk was still there, the lock was hanging open, and the yellow service folder was gone. For a few seconds, I did not move. The bedroom was too quiet. The quilt lay folded on the floor, not thrown aside, not dropped carelessly, but folded into a neat square by someone who wanted to believe neatness could turn trespassing into love. The brass lock hung open from the trunk latch. Claire had not broken it. That bothered me more. A broken lock would have meant anger, a forced entry, a moment of panic. An opened lock meant planning. It meant she had found the spare key, or copied it, or taken it from the drawer where Tom used to keep old watch batteries and extra buttons. It meant my daughter had stood in my bedroom, under my roof, at the foot of my bed, and decided that the last private box I owned was no longer private if she wanted what was inside. I knelt in front of the trunk, slowly, not because I was weak, because I wanted to see everything before I touched anything. The discharge papers were still there, but not on top. The field notebook had been shifted to the left. My old medical tag was missing from the small canvas pouch where I had kept it for 51 years. The folded copy of the trust was gone. So was the yellow service folder. Claire had taken exactly the things she understood least. That was the first time I smiled. Not because it was funny, because in the service, you learn that panic makes people grab what looks important. Training makes people notice what they left behind. Claire had taken the folder. She had left the log. At the bottom of the trunk, beneath the false panel Tom had built for me after I came home, was a thin black notebook wrapped in oilcloth. The paper inside was old but dry. Every important item in that trunk had been listed there, with dates, copies, and the names of the people who had witnessed them. Tom used to tease me about it. "Evie," he would say, "you could make a grocery list sound like a federal case. Maybe. But federal cases had rules. So did houses. So did daughters who thought love erased evidence. I did not call Claire. I did not accuse her. I wrote down the date, the time, the missing items. Then I took 3 photographs of the trunk from 3 different angles and placed the black notebook back under the panel. After that, I made tea and waited. Claire called at 6:18 that evening. I remember the minute because I wrote it on the back of the Silver Pines brochure while she was talking. "Mom," she said, and her voice had that careful softness again. "We need to have a serious conversation." "About what? About your safety." People always reached for safety when they were holding a weapon they did not want you to see. "I'm safe," I said. "You're not. You're living alone in a house that's too big, surrounded by boxes you won't let anyone touch. You forgot your appointment. You were confused at dinner. You scared Brandon." I almost corrected her. I almost said Brandon was not scared. Brandon was embarrassed because an old woman had looked him in the eye and named what he was doing. But I had learned something a long time ago. Never interrupt a person who is building your case for you. so I let her talk. I spoke with someone at Silver Pines, Claire continued. They have a shared suite available. It's actually lucky. There's usually a waiting list. Lucky. A room chosen before a verdict. A bed waiting before a crime was admitted. I'm not moving to Silver Pines, I said. She sighed. Mom, this is exactly why we need help. You hear one suggestion and you turn it into a battle. A suggestion does not come with a room reserved. Silence. Then her voice changed slightly. Not much. Just enough. I was hoping we wouldn't have to do this formally. There it was. The hard way. The thing she had warned me about from her car window. What does formally mean, Claire? It means I'm going to ask the court for temporary guardianship until you're evaluated properly. I looked through the kitchen doorway toward the hall that led to my bedroom. Toward the trunk, toward the empty space where the yellow folder had been. And what evidence will you give them? I asked. Another pause. This one was longer. Enough, she said. The next morning, Claire came to pick me up for the Silver Pines tour as if we were going shopping. She wore pearl earrings and a pale blue blouse. She had brought me a coat I did not need and held it open in my kitchen like I was 5 years old. I can put on my own coat. I know you can, she said too quickly. I'm just helping. The drive took 22 minutes. Claire talked the whole way, not to me, at me. She spoke about safety rails, medication reminders, community meals, emergency buttons, social activities, visiting hours. Every sentence had a soft blanket over it, but underneath I could hear the bars being built. Silver Pines smelled like lemon cleaner and overcooked vegetables. The lobby had a fish tank, a piano no one was playing, and a framed photograph of a garden that was probably prettier than the real one outside. A woman named Denise met us near the front desk with a clipboard pressed to her chest. Claire, it's good to see you again. Again. I looked at my daughter. Claire did not look back. Denise turned to me with a smile that had been trained into her face. And this must be Evelyn. Not Mrs. Hart, not Lieutenant Colonel Hart, not even Mom, Evelyn. The name people used when they had already moved you from person to project. Claire touched my elbow. Mom gets overwhelmed, she told Denise. Sometimes she thinks people are against her when we're only trying to help. Denise nodded with practiced concern. That's very common during transition. There was that word again. Transition. I looked at the sign-in tablet on the desk. Claire's name was already in the visitor log from 2 previous dates. 2 visits, before she had ever mentioned the place to me. Denise led us down a hallway with beige walls and framed watercolor paintings. As we passed the dining room, a man in a wheelchair slept with his chin on his chest, while a television played a game show no one watched. This floor has 24-hour staff, Denise said. Shared suites are down this way. Claire smiled. She does better when she isn't alone. I stopped walking. Denise stopped too. Claire's fingers tightened around her purse strap. I have lived alone since my husband died, I said. Claire laughed softly, apologetically for Denise's benefit. That's what she says. But she calls me at night and forgets why. I had called my daughter at night twice in the past year. Once, when the furnace made a sound like a rifle crack. Once on the anniversary of Tom's death, when I dialed her number, listened to it ring 4 times, then hung up before she answered because I decided my grief did not need to become another thing she could use. Denise wrote something on her clipboard. That was the moment I understood the machine Claire had built. It was not one lie, it was a net. One missed appointment that was not missed. One key taken for safety. One realtor visit called planning. One dinner humiliation called concern. One private grief call turned into confusion. One locked trunk turned into dangerous obsession. And now, one facility employee writing notes as if she were documenting a decline instead of witnessing a theft in progress. If you've ever watched someone mistake your silence for weakness, type silent in the comments. You'll understand why I let her keep talking. Because I could have ended it in that hallway. I could have asked Denise why my daughter had visited twice before telling me. I could have asked Claire how she opened my trunk. I could have named the missing folder. But Claire still had one more step to take. She needed to put her lies under oath. So I let my face go still. I let my shoulders round. I let Denise see exactly the old, tired woman Claire had described. At the end of the tour, Denise handed Claire a packet of forms. Not me, Claire. My daughter took them with both hands. There's also a physician concern letter template inside, Denise said. Some families find it helpful for court. Court. Claire's thumb froze on the packet. She did not want Denise to say that word in front of me. I looked at the packet. Then at Claire, she smiled too late. It's just paperwork, Mom. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table with 3 things in front of me. The Silver Pines brochure, the realtor's card, the black notebook from the trunk. Then I opened the small metal box where Tom and I had kept the house papers. Inside was the original trust, still safe, still signed, still notarized by a man named Peter Lang on April 4, 1998. Claire had taken the copy, not the original. She had taken the yellow folder, not the log. She had taken my medical tag, not the record of who had issued it. She had mistaken objects for proof. She had mistaken age for absence. And she had mistaken my silence for forgetting. 2 days later, a county envelope arrived. Petition for emergency guardianship. Claire had signed her name on the second page. Her attorney had attached a statement saying, I was confused, resistant, unsafe, and unable to manage real property. There were copies of my deed, copies of my service papers, a Silver Pines intake note, and one line from my daughter that I read 3 times. My mother's fixation on old military documents shows she no longer understands present-day responsibilities. I placed the petition beside the black notebook. Then I called one person, not Claire, not a neighbor, not even my lawyer first. I called retired General Thomas Mercer. He answered on the 3rd ring. Evie, he said, been a long time. Yes, I told him, and I need you to bring your dress blues to court. There was silence on the line. Then his voice changed. Not worried, ready. What did they touch? I looked at the yellow folder's empty place in my mind. My service record, I said. General Mercer exhaled once. Then I'll be there. After we hung up, I put the county envelope back in its sleeve. I did not feel brave. People always think courage feels like fire. Sometimes courage feels like checking that every page is in order while your hand shakes. The hearing was set for Monday morning. Claire called me Sunday night. I hope you don't fight me tomorrow, she said. It'll only make things worse. I looked at the locked trunk at the foot of my bed. The new lock shone brass and clean under the lamp. I won't fight you, I said. She sounded relieved. That was how I knew she still did not understand. I was not going to fight her. I was going to let her testify. Monday morning, Claire arrived at the courthouse before I did. That was another detail she wanted people to notice. The responsible daughter, early and prepared. The confused mother, late and carried along by everyone else. But I was not late. I was sitting in General Mercer's truck across the street, watching Claire through the courthouse windows while she spoke to her attorney near the security desk. General Thomas Mercer had aged the way some men do when discipline keeps holding the bones together, after time has tried to pull them apart. His hair was white now. His shoulders were narrower than I remembered, but his shoes were polished, his tie was straight, and his eyes still missed nothing. He did not ask me if I was sure. He did not tell me this would be painful. He simply looked at the courthouse and said, "Let her go first." That was why I had called him. Not because he outranked anyone in that courtroom, because he understood patience under fire. When I entered, Claire turned. For 1 second, her face changed. Not much. Just a small tightening around the mouth when she saw General Mercer walking behind me. She did not recognize him, but she recognized posture, so did Brandon. He leaned toward Claire and whispered something. She shook her head once, sharp and annoyed, then put the soft expression back on her face. "Mom," she said, stepping toward me. I was worried. "No, you weren't." Her smile trembled. Her attorney looked up from his folder. Judge Whitaker took the bench at 9:04. The hearing began with Claire's lawyer standing and making me disappear one sentence at a time. "Your Honor, this is an emergency guardianship petition concerning Mrs. Evelyn Hart, age 74, a widow living alone in a 2-story property she can no longer safely maintain. Her only daughter, Claire Hartwell, has observed increasing confusion, resistance to care, fixation on old military materials, missed medical appointments, and refusal to consider appropriate assisted living placement." There it was again. Fixation. Not record keeping. Not history. Not service. Fixation, he continued. Mrs. Hart has become suspicious of normal family assistance. She has refused access to necessary documents. She appears unable to understand the financial and physical burden of her property. My client seeks temporary authority only to protect her mother from harm. Only. That word did a lot of work for thieves. Only protect, only help, only sign here, only until the house was sold. Judge Whitaker listened without moving much. His eyes went from the attorney to Claire, then briefly to me, then back to the petition. Claire was sworn in first. She placed her hand on the Bible and promised to tell the truth with the same gentle face she had used while taking my key. Her attorney began softly. "Mrs. Hartwell, why are you asking this court for emergency guardianship?" Claire turned toward the judge, not toward me. "Because I'm afraid my mother is no longer safe by herself." "What makes you believe that?" "She forgets appointments. She becomes agitated when we discuss basic planning. She keeps a locked trunk full of military documents and old objects, and she becomes very upset if anyone touches it. She's convinced the house has to stay exactly the way my father left it." "My father?" She said Tom like he belonged to her argument. "Not to my life." Judge Whitaker made a note. Claire saw the pen move and grew braver. She has no realistic understanding of what the house is worth or what it costs to maintain. She refuses to accept that selling it may be the only responsible option. Her attorney nodded. "And did you attempt less restrictive solutions before coming to court?" "Yes, I arranged tour at Silver. I offered to help with appointments. I tried to organize her papers. I tried to be patient. I looked down at my hands so she would not see my face, not because I was ashamed. Because if I looked at her too long, I might have ended it too early." Her attorney picked up the yellow folder. "My folder, the one Claire had taken from my trunk. Is this part of the material you recovered from your mother's home?" "Recovered. Not stole. Recovered. Yes," Claire said. "Why did you feel it was important?" Claire hesitated, just enough. Then she said, "Because it shows how disconnected she is from the present. She keeps these old service records like they're living documents. She refers to them constantly. She believes they prove she can still manage everything alone. Judge Whitaker looked at the folder, then at me. "Mrs. Hart," he said, "do you want to respond to that?" I could feel Claire watching me. This was the moment she expected me to get emotional, to sound wounded, to talk about my service, my husband, my house, my right to be treated as an adult. That would have made me look exactly like the woman she had described. A sentimental old widow clinging to paper. So I said only, "Not yet, Your Honor." Claire's attorney almost smiled. The judge turned back to Claire. "Mrs. Hartwell, you stated your mother missed appointments. Can you give the court an example?" Claire told him about Dr. Ellison. She told it beautifully. She said she had changed the appointment and informed me. She said I forgot. She said she had to apologize to the office. She said it was one of many incidents. I wrote nothing down. I already had the call record. Then she described the house key. She said I had become fearful and unreasonable about emergency access. Then the realtor. She said she had invited a property specialist only to help me understand options. Then Silver Pines. She said I had become withdrawn during the tour and could not follow the conversation. Every lie was wrapped in concern. Every theft wore a clean shirt. By the time her attorney finished, the courtroom had shifted. I could feel it, not dramatically, not like in movies. Real shifts are quieter. The court reporter stopped glancing at Claire and started glancing at me. The nursing home representative sat with her hands folded, like she was already waiting for discharge instructions. Brandon looked bored now, as if the hard part was over. Judge Whitaker removed his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Mrs. Hart," he said, "the court understands that these proceedings can feel invasive. But the question before me is capacity and immediate safety. If there is evidence you wish to present, now is the time." Claire lowered her eyes. To anyone else, she looked sad. To me, she looked hungry. I stood slowly, not too fast, not too weak, just slowly enough that no one could accuse me of performing strength. "Your Honor," I said, "before I respond, may I ask my daughter 3 questions?" Claire's attorney stood. "Objection. My client is not on trial." Judge Whitaker looked at him. "She is the petitioner, counsel. Mrs. Hart may ask a limited number of relevant questions. I will stop her if she strays." The attorney sat down. Claire looked at me with a warning in her eyes. I gave her nothing back. "Claire," I said, "did you personally remove that yellow folder from the locked military trunk in my bedroom?" Her face tightened. For the first time that morning, she looked at her attorney before answering. He gave her a small nod. "Yes," she said, "I did, because you were hiding important papers." The court reporter's keys clicked. I let the sound finish. "Did I give you permission to open that trunk?" Claire's mouth parted. "That trunk was in your house. I'm your daughter." That was not my question. Judge Whitaker leaned forward slightly. "Answer the question, Mrs. Hartwell." Claire swallowed. "No, not directly. But I had reason to believe." "Thank you," I said. Her eyes flashed. I kept my voice even. "After removing the folder, did you open it, rearrange its contents, copy selected pages, and submit those pages to this court as evidence that I am incompetent?" Claire let out a small laugh. It was the wrong sound. Too sharp, too relieved. "Yes," she said. "Of course I did." Someone had to act like an adult. The courtroom went still. Not because everyone understood yet, because some sentences arrive with their own shadow. I looked at Judge Whitaker. "Your Honor," I said, "then before this court uses that folder to judge my memory, the court should know my daughter has just admitted under oath that she removed opened, altered, and submitted a protected service record she was never authorized to handle. Claire's smile vanished. Her attorney turned toward her. Brandon finally sat up, and Judge Whitaker looked down at the yellow folder as if it had changed weight in his hand. For the first time that morning, Claire stopped looking like a daughter worried about her mother. She looked like a woman who had stepped on a floorboard and heard something crack underneath. "Protected," she said. "Mom, stop. You're making this sound ridiculous." I did not look at her. That was another thing I had learned young. When a person panics, do not feed the panic. Let the room watch it grow. Judge Whitaker picked up the yellow folder, but I raised one hand. "Your Honor, please don't tilt it." His hand stopped. The courtroom became so quiet I could hear the air vent above the clerk's desk. Claire gave a breathy laugh. "Do you see?" she said, turning toward the judge. "This is exactly what I mean. She thinks the folder has to be held a certain way." "It does," I said. Judge Whitaker looked at me over the top of his glasses. "Explain?" "The red tabbed section should be sealed beneath the discharge papers. The top sheet should be Form 214, with the service number visible in the upper right. The medical attachment should be clipped behind the commendation summary, not loose. The folder was opened by someone who did not know the order and returned in haste." Claire's attorney shifted in his chair. Judge Whitaker lowered his eyes to the folder. Slowly, he opened the front flap. I saw his expression change by half an inch. Not enough for Claire to notice. Enough for me. He looked at the first page, then at the red tab underneath, then back at me. "You can identify the original of this folder from memory?" "Yes, Your Honor." Claire crossed her arms. "She memorizes old papers. That doesn't mean she can manage a house." I turned to her then. "No, Claire, paying for the house means I can manage a house." Her jaw tightened. Judge Whitaker raised one hand and the room settled. "Mrs. Hart," he said, "what is the service number on the top form?" I did not look at the folder. "RA 27 418 603. The court reporter began typing again. The judge glanced down. His eyebrows moved. "And the discharge date? June 14, 1982. He looked again. "Commanding officer?" "Colonel Martin J. Abbott, 2 Bs, 1 T. He signed in blue ink because his black pen had leaked in his jacket pocket that morning. He made a joke about surviving field supply errors only to be defeated by office stationery." No one laughed. Not because it was not funny, because it was too specific. Claire's hands moved to the back of her chair. Brandon leaned forward, eyes narrowing now, as if he had just begun to realize this was not an old woman rambling. It was a door opening in the wrong direction. Judge Whitaker turned one page. "And the commendation listed here? Meritorious Service Medal. The citation refers to Emergency Evacuation Coordination and Medical Supply Command during a field hospital relocation." I paused, then added, "The citation has a mistake. It says 38 patients. It was 41. 3 were not logged until the second convoy arrived." Judge Whitaker looked down for a longer time. Claire's attorney stood halfway. "Your Honor, with respect, this is becoming a discussion of military history, not capacity." "No," I said. "It is a discussion of whether my daughter understands the documents she stole well enough to use them against me." The attorney opened his mouth. Judge Whitaker said, "Sit down, counsel." He sat. I could feel the courtroom tilt. Not completely, not yet, but enough. The nursing home representative had stopped smiling. The court clerk was staring at the yellow folder as if it had become something alive. Brandon's phone still lay on his knee, but he was no longer touching it. Claire tried again. "Your Honor, None of this changes the fact that she's alone in that house. No, I said. It changes whether you came here to protect me or to take the house before anyone checked your story. That is disgusting, Claire snapped. There she was. The soft voice cracked and the thing underneath showed its teeth. I looked at the judge. May I continue? He nodded. My daughter told this court I do not understand real property. The house at 118 Hawthorne Lane was purchased by Thomas and Evelyn Hart on September 9, 1979. The final mortgage payment cleared on October 3, 1998. My husband brought home a blue grocery store cake that evening with the word P-Ad written across it. The deed was transferred into the Hart Family Residence Trust on April 4, 1998, notarized by Peter Lang, license number 30919. The original trust is not in that folder because I never kept originals in the trunk. Claire blinked. That was the first real fear I saw. Not shame, fear. Because she had not known there was an original somewhere else. She had thought the copy was the thing. That was the difference between stealing papers and understanding them. Judge Whittaker looked toward Claire. Mrs. Hartwell, did you know the home was held in trust? Claire's lips parted. Her attorney touched her sleeve. She said, I knew there were papers. I didn't know she still understood them. I almost smiled. Still, there was the word again, as if understanding expired quietly one birthday at a time. I reached into my purse and removed a sealed white envelope. Claire's attorney stood again. What is that? A copy of the original trust, a copy of the realtor's card left in my kitchen, the date and time 2 agents entered my home without my permission, the Silver Pines intake brochure with the room type circled, and my written inventory of the missing items from my trunk. I placed it on the table. I also have the call log from Dr. Ellison's office, confirming my appointment was never changed. Claire turned her head toward me so sharply, I thought she might hurt her neck. Judge Whittaker looked at the bailiff. Please take that envelope. The bailiff stepped forward. Claire's voice rose. Your Honor, this is exactly the paranoia I was talking about. She keeps logs of her own daughter. I looked at her. I kept logs because my own daughter learned how to lie softly. The words landed harder than I expected. Claire's face changed color. Her attorney whispered something, but she did not seem to hear him. I continued before she could recover. There is one more issue, Your Honor. My daughter submitted selected pages of my service record and characterized them as evidence of confusion. But she did not submit the witness letters attached to the full record. She did not submit the VA advocate note. She did not submit the page that explains why that folder was preserved with restricted handling instructions. Judge Whittaker looked back at the yellow folder. Restricted handling? Yes. Claire laughed again, but the sound was thin. Mom, you were a nurse. Stop acting like you were guarding nuclear codes. I felt General Mercer move behind me. Not quickly, just enough that the old wooden bench gave a small creak. I did not turn around. Judge Whittaker did. The general stood. His spine was straight. His hands rested at his sides. His face held no anger, only a kind of controlled disappointment that made the room feel smaller. Your Honor, he said. My name is retired General Thomas Mercer. I served with Lieutenant Colonel Evelyn Hart. If this court is considering whether to call her incompetent based on a stolen and incomplete service record, I respectfully request to be sworn in before that mistake becomes official. Claire stared at him. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. For the first time in the hearing, Judge Whittaker removed his glasses completely. Then he looked at me. Not like a confused widow. not like a problem to be managed, like a person whose name had just arrived before the court with weight attached to it. "Lieutenant Colonel Hart," he said quietly, "is General Mercer here at your request?" I folded my hands again. "Yes, Your Honor." The judge looked at the folder, then at Claire, then at the bailiff. "Swear him in." The bailiff walked toward General Mercer with the Bible in his hand. No one moved. Even Claire seemed to understand that something had entered the room that her attorney had not prepared for. General Mercer raised his right hand. His fingers were bent a little now with age, but they did not tremble. "Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" "I do." His voice was not loud. It did not need to be. Some voices carry because they have spent years being obeyed in rooms where hesitation could cost lives. Judge Whitaker motioned toward the witness chair. General Mercer sat, adjusted his jacket once, and looked straight ahead. Claire's attorney stood. "Your Honor, we object to this testimony. This proceeding concerns present-day capacity, not whatever military associations Mrs. Hart may have had decades ago." Judge Whitaker looked at him over his glasses. "Counsel, your client introduced the service record as evidence of diminished capacity. The court will hear why that record may have been incomplete or mischaracterized." Claire's attorney sat down. He did not look happy, but for the first time, he looked careful. Judge Whitaker turned to the general. "General Mercer, please state your relationship to Mrs. Hart." General Mercer did not look at me. That was mercy. If he had looked at me right then, I might have felt the years too sharply. I served with Lieutenant Colonel Evelyn Hart during 2 overseas deployments and later worked with her during veteran records review and medical supply audits, he said. She was not simply attached to old documents. She maintained records because records kept wounded men alive, protected families, and prevented liars from rewriting what happened after the fact. The courtroom stayed silent. Claire shifted in her seat. Judge Whitaker looked down at the yellow folder. "Lieutenant Colonel?" he asked. General Mercer nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." Claire whispered, "No." It was so soft most people might have missed it. I did not. I had spent half my life hearing people try to hide fear inside breath. Judge Whitaker opened the folder again, slower this time. Not like a man reviewing paperwork, like a man handling something that might accuse him if he was careless. He moved past the first page, then the discharge summary, then the commendation page, then the loose copies Claire had submitted. General Mercer leaned forward slightly. "The pages your court received appear selective," he said. "The full record would include attached witness statements, restricted handling notes from the review board, and a VA advocate memorandum concerning unauthorized use of service documents in civil proceedings." Claire turned to her attorney. Her attorney did not turn back. Judge Whitaker found the page. I saw the moment he read it. His eyes stopped moving. The room seemed to shrink around the paper. He read the first line once, then again. Then he looked at me. Not at Claire, not at the attorney. "At me! Mrs. Hart," he said, then corrected himself. "Lieutenant Colonel Hart." The correction landed harder than a gavel. Claire's face tightened as if someone had slapped her with the title. "Yes, Your Honor," I said. Judge Whitaker's eyes returned to the page. "Is this memorandum accurate?" "I believe so. It states that portions of your record were preserved after an inquiry into missing medical supply documentation." "Yes, and that your testimony corrected that inquiry." "Yes," Claire snapped. "What does that have to do with my mother living alone?" Judge Whitaker did not look at her. That frightened her more than if he had shouted. General Mercer answered before I did. Because your mother's ability to remember dates, chain of custody, missing forms, and altered document order is the reason 3 officers were cleared, 2 contractors were prosecuted, and 41 wounded soldiers received backdated care benefits they were nearly denied. The courtroom went still in a different way. Before, it had been quiet because people were listening. Now it was quiet because they understood they had almost participated in something shameful. Claire's hands gripped the edge of the table. "That was 50 years ago," she said. "People get old." General Mercer finally turned his head and looked at her. "Yes," he said, "they do. But age is not theft, and concern is not a license to erase a person." Claire looked away first. Judge Whittaker turned another page. The paper made a dry sound beneath his fingers. He stopped at the witness attachment. His face changed again. This time, everyone saw it. The clerk saw it. The bailiff saw it. Brandon saw it. Claire saw it last. That was always the way with people who thought they controlled the room. They were the last to notice when the room had left them. Judge Whittaker read silently for a long time. Then he placed both hands on the edge of the bench and stood up. Not quickly, not theatrically. He stood with the slow weight of a man who had realized he had been seated in judgment over someone he should have first recognized. The bailiff straightened immediately. General Mercer stood too. For half a second, the courtroom did not know what to do. Then the judge looked directly at me. "Lieutenant Colonel Hart," he said, "this court acknowledges your service." My daughter stared at him. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. That was the moment the story in her head broke. She had brought me into that courtroom as an old woman with a house she wanted. The judge was now standing for a soldier whose record she had stolen. I did not stand right away. My knees hurt, and pride is not the same as pretending pain does not exist, but I placed both hands on the table and rose slowly. General Mercer did not move to help me. He knew better. Some respect comes from offering a hand. Some respect comes from knowing when not to. "Thank you, Your Honor," I said. Claire's chair scraped backward. "This is insane," she said. "This is not a military ceremony. This is about whether she can take care of herself." Her voice had lost the softness completely. There was no concerned daughter left. Only a woman watching a house slip away. Judge Whittaker sat back down. The room sat with him. But no one returned to the same place they had occupied before he stood. That is the thing about recognition. Once it happens publicly, humiliation cannot be put back in its box. Judge Whittaker looked at Claire. "Mrs. Hartwell, you represented to this court that your mother's attention to these records indicated confusion." Claire swallowed. "I said she was fixated on them. You also submitted selected portions of the file while omitting attached context. I didn't know what those pages meant." "No," I said quietly. "You didn't care what they meant." Claire turned on me. "I was trying to help you." I looked at her for a long moment. In that moment, I saw the child she had been, the girl with scraped knees, the teenager slamming doors, the young woman crying in my kitchen after her first husband left, the daughter I had forgiven so many times that forgiveness had become a road she used to reach my front door whenever she needed something. Then I saw the woman who had opened my trunk, the woman who had circled a shared room in a nursing home brochure, the woman who had invited strangers into my living room and called it planning. "No," I said. "You were trying to inherit me before I died." The words landed in the courtroom like a dropped plate. Claire's eyes filled with tears. But they were not the tears of a daughter who had hurt her mother. They were the tears of a person whose performance had failed in public. Her attorney whispered her name. She shook her head. No, she's twisting this. She always does this. She makes herself sound noble and everyone believes her. Judge Whitaker picked up the envelope the bailiff had taken from me. Mrs. Hartwell, he said, I have not yet reviewed all of the documents your mother submitted, but I have heard enough to be concerned about several matters. Claire froze. Her attorney went very still. Judge Whitaker continued. Alkalide entry into the home, removal of private documents, possible misrepresentation of medical and scheduling information. Contact with a residential facility before any finding of incapacity. Contact with real estate professionals before any authority to act regarding the property, and selective submission of records to this court. Each sentence removed another brick from the wall Claire had built. By the end, she had nothing to lean on. Brandon looked at her with the expression of a man recalculating not morality, but risk. That hurt her more than the judge. She turned to him. Say something. He looked at the table. Claire's face went pale. Not a little pale. Not the polite kind people get when embarrassed. All the color seemed to drain from her at once, beginning at the mouth, moving across the cheeks, leaving only 2 red spots high near her eyes. Her hand reached for the pen beside her attorney's folder. The same pen she had planned to use when the court gave her authority over my life. Her fingers closed around it, then slipped. The pen rolled off the table and struck the floor. The sound was tiny, but everyone heard it. I looked at my daughter's shaking hand, then at the judge. Your Honor, I said, my daughter told this court I was too senile to own a house. Claire shut her eyes. I continued. I would like the record to show that I remember who bought it, who paid for it, who tried to steal it, and who stood silent while she did. Brandon looked up then. Too late. Judge Whitaker looked at the court reporter. The record will so reflect. Judge Whitaker did not raise his voice. He did not need to. The courtroom had already heard enough shouting from silence. He placed the yellow folder flat on the bench, then set my envelope beside it. For a moment, he looked not at Claire, not at me, but at the space between us, as if he could see every year that had led my daughter to believe my love would make me easy to steal from. Then he spoke. This court is denying the emergency guardianship petition. Claire made a sound. It was small, not a word. More like the breath leaving a body after a fall. Her attorney touched her arm, but she pulled away from him. Your Honor, please, she said. You don't understand. She can sound convincing. She's always been like this. She makes people feel sorry for her. Judge Whitaker looked at her. No, Mrs. Hartwell. What I understand is that you asked this court for emergency authority over your mother, her residence, and her personal affairs while withholding material context, mischaracterizing records, and admitting under oath that you entered her locked property without permission. Claire's face was still pale. Her lips moved before words came out. I'm her daughter. The judge's expression did not change. That is not a legal defense. The sentence hit harder than any insult could have. For years, Claire had used daughter like a master key. Daughter meant she could call at midnight for money. Daughter meant she could forget birthdays and still expect Thanksgiving. Daughter meant she could cry in my kitchen and leave with a check. Daughter meant she could hurt me, then wait for my heart to explain it away. But in that courtroom, for the first time, daughter opened nothing. Judge Whitaker continued, the petition is denied without prejudice to any properly supported future filing, though based on today's testimony, the court would expect significant independent medical evidence before entertaining further claims of incapacity. Claire's attorney stared down at his folder. He knew what that meant. No shortcut, no fast guardianship, no immediate access. No signature handed over before the facts cooled. The judge turned to the clerk. The court will preserve the transcript of today's proceeding. Copies of the relevant portions are to be forwarded to the appropriate county office for review of possible elder coercion and financial exploitation. I also want the matter of unauthorized removal and selective submission of personal documents noted. Claire shook her head. No, I was helping. Mom, tell them. There it was, after all of it. After the appointment lie, the key, the realtor, the brochure, the trunk, the folder, the hearing, the humiliation, she still expected me to save her, not because she loved me, because I always had. I looked at my daughter. Her eyes were wet now. Her mascara had gathered at the lower lashes. The cream-colored coat I bought her 2 Christmases ago looked suddenly too bright for her face. For 1 second, I remembered her at 6 years old, standing in the kitchen with flour on her nose, asking if we could make pancakes for dinner, because Tom was working late and she wanted to surprise him. Memory is cruel that way. It does not protect you from the soft parts of the people who hurt you. It hands them back at the worst possible moment and asks what kind of woman you are going to be. Claire whispered, "Mom," my heart answered before my mouth did. That was my child. That would always be true. But truth is not permission. I said, "No." 1 word. It was the smallest boundary I had ever spoken, and the most expensive. Claire stared at me as if I had slapped her. Brandon stood behind her, already half turned toward the aisle. He was not looking at me now. He was looking at Claire like she had become a bad investment. She saw it. That was when she truly broke. Not when the judge denied her. Not when General Mercer named me. Not when the pen fell from her hand. She broke when the man who had helped her count my house began counting the distance to the door. "Brandon," she said. He did not answer. Her attorney leaned close and whispered, "Do not speak anymore." For once, Claire listened. Judge Whitaker looked at me. "Lieutenant Colonel Hart, do you have counsel available to assist you after today?" "Yes, Your Honor, and someone to accompany you home?" General Mercer stood slightly behind me. "She does," he said. The judge nodded. "Then this hearing is concluded." The gavel came down once, not loud. Final. People began moving, but slowly, as if no one wanted to be the first to admit it was over. The nursing home representative slipped her packet into her bag and left, without looking at Claire. Her shoes made quick, embarrassed taps against the floor. Brandon walked out next. Claire turned toward him, but her attorney caught her sleeve. "Let him go," he said quietly. I did not watch Brandon leave. Some men exit a story the moment the money disappears from it. Claire stayed near the table, trembling with anger now that fear had nowhere else to go. "You're going to regret this," she said to me. General Mercer stepped forward, not between us. Beside me, that mattered. He did not protect me like I was fragile. He stood with me like I was not alone. Claire saw the difference. "No," I said. I regretted letting it go this far. She looked at me for a long time. Then she picked up her purse with shaking hands and walked out of the courtroom without another word. Her heels clicked too fast. That was how I knew she was crying before she reached the hall. Not because she had lost me, because she had lost the house. General Mercer drove me home in silence. I appreciated that. People fill quiet rooms because they are afraid of what might sit down beside them if they do not. But I had lived long enough to know that silence is not always empty. Sometimes it is the only respectful witness. When we pulled into my driveway, the house looked smaller than it had that morning. Not weaker, just mine. The maple tree leaned over the front walk. The porch light was still on because I had forgotten to turn it off before leaving. One shutter on the upstairs window needed repainting. The gutter above the garage sagged on the left side. Claire had called those things evidence that I could not manage a home. I called them Saturday. General Mercer walked me to the door but did not reach for my keys. "Do you want me to come in?" he asked. "No," I said, "but thank you." He nodded. Then he said, "Tom would have been proud." I looked down at the key in my hand. The brass was warm from my palm. Tom would have checked the back door first. For the first time that day, General Mercer smiled. "Then check it." So I did. I checked every door, every window, every lock. Then I called a locksmith. By 4 o'clock, every exterior lock in the house had been changed. By 5, my attorney had received scans of the trust, the petition, the court order, and my inventory log. By 6, Claire's name was removed from my emergency contact list at Dr. Ellison's office. At 7, I stood in the kitchen and made coffee in the blue mug. My hands shook then. Not in court, not when Claire lied, not when the judge stood, after. That is when the body finally asks permission to feel what the mind postponed. I let the shaking happen. I drank the coffee anyway. Then I went to my bedroom. The military trunk sat at the foot of my bed, the new brass lock shining under the lamp. I opened it, lifted the false panel, and placed the black notebook back inside. The yellow service folder came home 2 days later after my attorney retrieved the copied record, and the court preserved what it needed. When I held it again, the red tape had been replaced, and every page was back in order. I set the discharge papers on top, the commendation behind them, the medical attachment clipped where it belonged, the restricted note beneath the red tab. Then I placed my old medical tag in the canvas pouch and closed the trunk. For a moment, I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at Tom's photograph on the dresser. He was younger in that picture than I am now. Strong jaw, bad tie, that half smile he used when he knew he had already won an argument but loved me too much to say it. I protected it, I told him. The house made its old evening sounds around me. Pipes settling, floorboards cooling, a branch tapping once against the upstairs window. For years, I thought the hardest thing about getting old would be losing people. I was wrong. The hardest thing is learning which people you have to lose on purpose. Claire called 12 times that week. I did not answer. She sent one message. "Mom, we need to talk. This has gone too far." I read it once. Then I blocked her number. Not forever, maybe, but for long enough that my house could become quiet again. For long enough that I could walk from the kitchen to the porch without feeling measured. For long enough that love could stop being the leash she used to pull me back into danger. A month later, I repainted the upstairs shutter myself. It took me all afternoon. I had to stop twice because my knees complained. And once because the ladder suddenly seemed higher than it had in 1998. But when I finished, I stood on the lawn with paint on my sleeve and looked at the house. Tom and I had paid for 1 month at a time. The world loves to call old women confused when we stop making ourselves useful. It calls us stubborn when we say no. It calls us difficult when we remember what everyone hoped we would forget. But memory is not weakness. Silence is not consent, and kindness without boundaries is just another name for surrender. The day my daughter called me too senile to own a house was the day the court learned I had defended more homes than she had ever paid for. And this one's still mine.